Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's me, Aki-chan, Tatsumaki. Hey, I know I've been gone for a while and whatnot. I was taking care of some business, and honestly, I just wasn't in the fucking mood with it. And there's some issues going on. Uh, I had some run-in with with my ex-girl and some family issues, and I was dealing with some personal shit, and I got school and all that. It's been a lot of shit been going on. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Everything simmered down for the most part. So yeah, I'm ready to finally do these reviews that y'all like so much and whatnot. And I feel like reviewing and giving the discussion on this season 2 of the Dragon Prince will be a fitting video to start with of my triumphant return to YouTube, so to speak, after my give or take 2 week break. Damn, I was gone that far. Damn, I was gone that long. Yeah, I guess that would be the appropriate way to more or less start my return. So, for the most part. Um, to start, well, pretty much on my break, I had a lot of time to more or less stock up on a lot of things. I was looking more into Genlock daily. Nearly almost finished with Promised Neverland. So yeah, just like Ruby Volume 6 that I promised to make a fucking review on somewhere last month, and I'll get to it pretty much somewhere later this upcoming week or whenever, when I got time for it. So yeah, I'll take a look out for that. And yeah, more or less, so to speak, during my break from YouTube, so to speak, more or less, I took a lot of time, to look up a lot of things, to catch up on a lot of things. I started doing more written online reviews, which I'll post later, uh, so y'all can read them. Like I just saw Miller's Crossing. I wrote a whole review on that, so I might be posting that later. Reviewed a book, Meet You in Hell. Might post that up later when I get around to it. Uh, so yeah, I've been busy. I've been out, and due to my break, actually gave me more time to to stock up on looking on things, so I can make more reviews and discussion boards and whatnot on it and whatnot and stuff and whatever. So yeah, I feel like more or less for me to more or less let it all go from all the things I've seen and that I pretty much stored in my fucking head. I can finally do them now on YouTube now that I finally got the time to. And personally, I'm just in the mood to do it now, and not fucking busy and just honestly not in the fucking mood for it. So yeah, I can finally do it. Um, so yeah, more or less, I pretty much breezed right through season 2 of Dragon Prince, and obviously it's the continuation of season 1. So you kind of already know the bare plot on its own. They're trying to return Ozymandias to the world of magic, back to his mother, so they can end the inevitable war between humans and elves and all the other mystical creatures that consist in the Dragon Prince world of magic and whatnot. And of course, Viren is up to no good. Although honestly, I understand why he's doing the things he's doing, but it still doesn't mean it's his actions aren't nefarious. Of course, like pretty much he's trying to keep the kingdom from going into peril, and he doesn't see Ezrin and Callum as worthy candidates to run the kingdom because they're fucking children. And pretty much he got his son to more or less put him on the front news and whatnot, and Claudia to pretty much be his assistant and whatnot. And honestly, I'm gonna get more into character arcs and character attitudes later on in the series, which in this season, because honestly, I feel like this is that the character development, the character arcs, is actually one of the biggest highlights of this season of where they did some major improvement with. Well, it wouldn't be improvement because the series is still technically kind of new. So yeah, but it's it's there, and I'll get to that late. I'll get to that later into this review. More or less, from seeing the trailers alone before actually seeing the series, I feel like the Dragon Prince community, the creators, they finally listen to their fans, which is actually surprised the shit out of me because usually a lot of people don't fucking listen to the fans nowadays. That's why a whole lot of things are shit. But no, they actually listen to their fans when they talk about animation. Uh, Here around again, it's not as choppy anymore. They actually kind of move, normally now. Like they move kind of regular now. It's not as choppy. The frame rate is not as stoppy. It's not what's the word I'm looking for. It's not as it's not as choppy. It's not as glitchy and whatnot. It's actually kind of smoother here and then, and it kind of seems like the overall illustrations of season two kind of more so got better for the most part. It got this really Legend of Korra art style to it, but if it was in 3D and the facial expressions are not as detailed, but yeah, it's still there. The art overall got better. It reminds me of Legend of Korra and whatnot. So yeah, this pretty much two wins right there. The animation's on point, and the animation's on point. They kind of fixed it up, and the illustrations actually got more impressive. So yeah, on visuals, it's pretty good. I'm gonna give it an exceptional. They actually did, really put their foot in actually making this look, good on the eyes, make it actually look generous on the eyes. So yeah, they did. They actually did a pretty good job on here. Um, it seems like Viren is up to these. I think someone caught up to Viren with all of his little schemes and his little dark magic Jones. He been dark magic spells he been doing. Behind the scenes and whatnot. He's urgently trying to track down Ezra and Callum, and he's trying to pretty much, as it looks like, he's trying to wipe out all the other kingdoms so he can pretty much keep theirs from dying. So yeah, I can sympathize with Viren, but then again, he's not completely unnefarious, so to speak, in this season. Um, so yeah, I can agree with overall with his overall character arc. I can see why he's doing this yet, although I can still see like it's kind of wrong, because he's trying to kill the princess. So and it seems like trying to wipe out other kingdoms. Or at least that's my prediction. That's what it looked like to me. That's why I could make out of it when I saw it. Um, and actually, despite how much I like Dragon Prince, there's actually one scene that actually seemed to really fucking force for the most part when they were talking about yeah, that's kind of a habit of mine. It's like grew over my break, so to speak. Um, uh, when they more or less got into some backstories about you know uh, Callum's mom and what Ezrin, I mean Ezrin's mom. Um, and more or less they were talking about how she fucking kicked the bucket and how the kingdom got to where they were now and how they kept themselves from fucking dying and how they stole the egg and all that and literally in one particular scene that seemed like that I'm talking about right now seemed like really fucking forced where literally there was this literally like forced lesbian diverse couple that just there it didn't seem plausible. It was just there. And when the princess was talking about it, or when she was being told the backstory of why the humans need to stick together and bring the fight to the mythical creatures. It's like, oh, I never met my two moms, so I guess I don't know how that would work if if they were just sleeking and got me or whatever. I guess that's just how some things work in the Dragon Prince. This is obviously some fucking forced LGBT things going on here because it was literally just them two and like we finally did it and they shared a kiss and it just seemed really fucking forced. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I like you, Dragon Prince, but come on, bro, you're kind of just brown nosing right now. You don't have to. I mean, especially when everyone was fucking driving a big conundrum about Amaya being deaf, and but yet pretty much being like a fucking brick brick house in the first season, despite being deaf, and she can still understand, what people are saying despite being deaf from their lips and whatnot. Which was actually no big deal because that's just simply just part of her character. It's not pushing any agenda. She just happens to be fucking deaf in the series. Or at least if the Brian and the other guy actually made that concrete that yeah we're trying to push an agenda with her being deaf. But Maya, I always just simply saw her as her being deaf, just one of her many character traits. It's not any. It's not. There's no agenda being pushed there. It just happens to be one of her many character traits. Other than her also being a general and being Asian, which also another thing in Dragon Prince that they kind of seem to actually really push around about race and skin color and ethics and not being accepted, which actually for the most part I would smack this being a SJW propaganda, but actually for the most part it didn't seem forced. Uh, and from determining the climate of Dragon Prince's story, the concept, elves are ridiculed as being monsters and thieves and warmongering monsters against human and vice versa. Actually seemed pretty appropriate, despite although the whole lesbian couple thing was a little forced, and you could kind of tell from that part. And I'm still to this very day wondering how they got a daughter together. I guess they'll put more emphasis on the other kingdoms, on probably how they'll work, like if their kingdoms are asexual, or it's just like the Amazonians or Themyscira or something. They're predominantly a woman tribe, and they only breed like once a year, some shit like that. Like we might get more into overall world building later into the series, and might finally answer my question that I pretty much turned to a fucking lesbian joke by now. So yeah, we'll find more questions about that concept later in world building. Which, honestly, the overall world building in this, it's kind of almost non-existent. But these you can still see where they try to make it prominent. They try to actually make it more plausible in this season, but for the most part, it was pretty transparent in this season. So yeah, that's one thing that they actually kind of would need to put a lot of work into in this, in probably the upcoming season 3 of Dragon Prince, is the world building. But pretty much everything else they kind of actually pretty got right. In terms of character development, which I said I was going to get into this somewhere in the video, and now I'm to it. So yeah. I feel like they actually did it pretty well in this. Although when they introduced Claudia and Soren, I meant Soren. At first, they try to make it seem like they were more anti-heroic, and Claudia was inept about Soren's given objective by Viren to kill the Dragon Princess, and pretty much almost get somewhat of somewhat of a believable romantic ship in this season with Claudia and Callum. It didn't seem forced because for a while Callum always had a boner for Claudius, and in this they kind of capitalized on it. They talked, they went on a play date, and there was almost about to kiss until she had to tell him that Harrow died, and pretty much that elevated to some character growth with Callum and eventually Ezrin, which I'll also get later into this segment of this video. Callum heard about his father's death, and he was like, "Yeah, we gotta find," and in his name, we gotta finally end this war. So it actually pushed Callum to actually, want to deliver Asimodeus back to the Dragon World. Actually pushed it in this season and whatnot. So yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty convincing. They actually did pulled overall character arcs in this. When as soon as Ezrin heard that Harold died, which was actually pretty much one of the most emotional parts of this season. He's like, yeah, my father's dead, and I'm really the heir, and I gotta finally grow up now. I finally gotta resurface the throne, and keep this kingdom from falling and shit. So yeah, we finally see some character growth here and there. Although with Soren at one point, when they were fighting a dragon, which was actually like literally one of the most well designed things in the series. Like I said, the overall artwork in this series actually really fucking paid off in this season. Soren more or less got paralyzed from a dragon, and more or less that was actually the official part of the scene when he was in the hospital recovering, where he more or less gave the gas to Claudia that he was ordered to kill the princess, and he's more like, you know what? I'm fucking paralyzed. Fuck it. I live like this. This is karma. This is what I'm gonna pay for. Actually, in this particular scene, I thought there was going to be a big character arc and character change for Soren, but instead of that, Claudia Lily pulls some fucking spell out of her ass and gives him the ability to walk again. I'm like, oh, never mind. This kind of almost felt like Thor in Infinity War when he lost his eye and Asgard was blowing to shit. He lost his dad. He lost Loki. And suddenly, as soon as he met the Guardians of the Galaxy, he got a new eye and a new hammer. I'm like, oh, so much for character growth or, character exposition. And that's pretty much what Soren was in this season. Like, you're going to see some major character development or some character change and movement with the character. He lost his ability to walk, and he was going to become a terrible poet, and more or less Claudia, which was actually kind of funny, despite I had issues with this particular scene and his character development. He was going to be a poet, and Claudia was like, "No, I don't want to hear your garbage ass poetry." And she tried urgently to get him back on his feet again. No pun intended. And again, yeah, she pulled the fucking spell out of his ass to make him walk again. So yeah, it was funny at the same time, but it was pretty much wasted character growth and development and exposition for the most part. And actually, in terms of comedy, actually they kind of pulled it off, and the comedy in this was actually really well pulled off in this season. Personally, I kind of thought when Rayla was trying to be human was pretty funny. It's pretty much the Dragon Prince's way of saying that's pretty much reverse blackface. Although, you're not supposed to do blackface now because it's fucking offensive. But I feel like it was kind of funny in this. The comedy in here, her becoming human Rayla was pretty funny. I thought it was kind of cute how Ezrin and Ozymandias respond to it, which which I thought was pretty funny and whatnot. Rayla this time around actually like what they did with her character. She actually, for the most part, she seemed like she got the most growth from this season. She obviously has a crush on Callum, but she's never gonna come out with it, and you can that kind of starts becoming obvious as soon as more as the season progresses. Like, she tries to come out and open to him, but she doesn't know how to, or she doesn't know how he's going to react, or how it's all going to pull off. So you can finally see it, or you kind of see her, finally kind of redeem herself in this season. Kind of like Blake and Ruby, you kind of see her kind of go through a redemption arc. Like, she doesn't know if she can be a mercenary anymore, or she even had it in her to begin with. She talking about this pirate dude, like, choose your destiny and whatnot, and all that, blah blah blah. I mean, I may talk like it was bad, but no, actually, it was pretty good. Actually, it was the overall character, her overall character redemption arc in this season was actually pretty good, and it was believable and whatnot. She didn't know she wanted to be a mercenary. She never killed anyone. She doesn't have the balls to do it and whatnot. She obviously has a thing for Callum, but would never actually say it. And it kind of starts becoming obvious. How she kind of carries herself about the situation. So yeah, I guess all the people for a long time who were shipping those two, you guys will eventually will see it. So you know dreams come true, I guess, for the most part. Um, Maya, she's more. Maya, pretty much personally my favorite character in this season. She kind of seems more. She kind of seems more haul ass about fighting the elves, the Sunfire elves, which in general actually were actually really well designed. They're pretty much the polar opposite of the Moon Shadow elves. Sunlight gives them strength, while the moonlight gives the Moon Shadow elves cloaking abilities and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty much a polar opposite, and I kind of like that spin to it. The overall actually design of most of the creatures and the monsters were pretty good. The red dragon that paralyzed Soren looked it really fucking good. It looked really cool and whatnot. I know I sound like a fucking kid, but yeah, but no, I'm just saying the overall creations and art direction for most of the creatures in this series is pretty good and convincible, and you can tell some really good illustrators behind the helm of Dragon Prince. So yeah, good for them, I guess. Um, Pretty much that's all. Pretty much I gotta say about it. It was pretty good. They could use some more work on the world building. The animation and artwork was pretty good. We see some really actually good character development and character exposition in this season. They kind of water it down a little bit uh, with uh, with story exposition in this scene. There's more visual storytelling in this. Things actually seem flushed out. Not everything was fucking delivered to us on a silver platter. Everything actually did pull off well as terms of story. Callum is starting to try to learn magic on his own while having doing dark magic because he found it he finds it too fatal, which it was, almost got him killed in this season, which also led up to this really Luke Skywalker esque scene when he was on Dagobah, and he had to face himself and he was training with Yoda. It was pretty much something like that with his character arc when he was trying to learn magic. It was more in the lines of that in this season. So yeah, pretty much character arcs were pretty much pulled off pretty well in the season. They were convincible, although Soren's was pretty much half-assed and was pretty much fucking pointless. So yeah, yeah, animation good, character arcs believable. The setting and overall world building could use a little more work. It could be explained more on. Creature designs are exceptional. Um, the main villain Viren is he's believable. I can agree with certain with few of his actions, although they're not exactly positive. But me personally, as a viewer, I can agree with why he's taking most of these motives and whatnot, and he seems to be doing some deals with this magical elf entity in a mirror or whatnot, so it can promise him limitless power and whatnot. So yeah, pretty much everything was pretty much well pulled off in this season, except for the world building and setting in this series. I'm gonna have to give this season two an exceptional. It was pretty good, and actually, for most of the things I've seen for a while, I actually did enjoy looking at the Dragon Prince and whatnot, and they pulled it off really well, and I liked it and whatnot. That's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Um, Yeah, I'm giving exceptional, and you already know the drill. Like if you like this video, a thumbs up. Give notifications if you want to know anytime I make a new video. Um, like and subscribe. Tell people about this channel. Check out my DeviantArt account and check out my Twitter. I'll be posting messages when I get around to it, but honestly, I'm never usually on it. So yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, that's all. That's all to it, man. I know it may sound a little more sloppy on this video, but that's mainly because I'm just pretty much getting back to graces. I would say for the most part, I'm still pulling myself together. I'm still trying to find myself on my spot on YouTube, and where I'm trying. Where would this lead me? Where would this take me? My whole my path. It may sound corny. My destiny is not written for me. Still figure out if this shit is even worth it, or if it is worth it, or it will take me far, or it will not take me far. There's a lot of things going through my head, but some will still come out at the end of all this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Just support your boy. Check out my DeviantArt account. Uh, I'm really heavily working on ex sheriff, that character. I'm trying to start small before I can actually fully issue a full length manga. You know how it is. So yeah, man, stick around. I may make a video somewhere this week reviewing RWBY Volume 6, giving discussion and whatnot, a 1 hour discussion. Shit. And so you know how it is. Yeah. Bad Storm's watching, y'all. Peace.